Welcome to the Boomer Briefing Podcast, where we help you solve a critical business issue in 20 minutes or less. I'm your host, Jon Hubbard, shareholder and consultant here at Boomer Consulting. And with me today is Sandra Wiley. Sandra, thank you for being on this episode of the podcast.
Well, thank you, John. Good to be here with our audience.
Yes, and Sandra is our president and consultant, and you mentor, coach, consult with firms and organizations around leadership. And one of the topics that falls underneath leadership is confidence and building that confidence. So for this episode, you and I are going to have a conversation for our listeners about building their leadership confidence. I'm not sure for those that have been through a leadership path or maybe a leadership program, if the word confidence is kind of something you've heard before, or maybe it's a new word you're hearing in this conversation. So Sandra, the first question I have for you is, why is building leadership confidence an important step in transitioning into a leadership role?
Well, whenever I think about people becoming leaders, what I think about is there are some people who gravitate to that and just go to it naturally. There's other people that almost ask themselves, like, why is this leadership thing important? Or I'm not sure I'm good enough to be a leader. And I think this confidence sets the foundation for your success. Now, everybody, and I'm not talking about becoming a partner. I'm just talking about success in your life, success in your personal life, success in your professional life. And I think confidence really brings that out in people. It makes you shine, right? So people will lead, people who lead will reflect actions and attitudes that I think are important for everyone to have. And so I want you to think about, as you're listening to this podcast today, I want you to put the mirror up in front of your face and ask yourself, what actions and what words do I use that reflect confidence in myself, so that other people see me in that leadership way. And I think sometimes, again, it comes back to, people will ask me all the time, and John, you and I both do coaching. We also do lots of conversations, or have lots of conversations with leaders in firms. And what they ask us is, I want you to coach me on how to be more confident. I don't believe you can. I think that what you can do is coach people to make commitments. You can coach them to have the courage to carry through on those commitments. You can coach them on how to build capabilities to execute leadership skills ultimately, and how to show themselves as a leader. And do you know what the outcome of all of those things are? Confidence. So confidence is the outcome that comes from the work that you put into the leadership skills. So and I do believe confidence is what will bubble up and pour out if you are doing that. So I think that's what I would tell people, is it is horribly important to you as a leader to show confidence, but the confidence is the outcome to all the other things that you do.
Right. I love that, Sandra. That's really good. And I think specifically within our profession, especially with the amount of change that's happening, individuals want to wait till they're fully confident in something before they start taking action or start getting emotion.
Yep.
And in reality, to your point, being confident is a result of action. It's not a prerequisite for that.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's a good point you made there. So what are some ways that our listeners can build their confidence? Any tried and true techniques or strategies you've seen work within firms?
I will say, for each individual, it's a little different, but I would say commit first to making a commitment. So make a commitment to learn about leadership, so that you can do that through classes that you can take, through people that you watch, books that you read. It can be a lot of different ways, but learn about leadership. What do great leaders out there do, and how do they show their leadership? I think that's the first thing. I also think you can kind of keep track of your accomplishments. I'm a believer in journaling. I believe that when you put your words to paper, or words to electronic, whichever you prefer. Um, Keeping track of the good things that happen, the positive things that are happening for you, and how you handle the situation will help you build that confidence. Build a network. Somebody told me one time, build a board of directors around you that is your board of directors. People that you can call and you can talk to when you're not sure about something that you're getting ready to commit to or getting ready to lead through. And you're thinking, oh, I'm not sure if I'm doing this right. Your board of directors are those 2, 3, 4 people that you can call on every time, and they'll give you advice. And they won't just tell you how great you are. They will tell you the hard things. So having a board of directors for yourself, I think, is super important. And then I guess one of my last things I would tell you is get out of your comfort zone. Sometimes we fall into what feels the best for us. So if you're someone who is more about, I don't know, you can pick anything, right? We all have our comfort zone. The magic of when you really build confidence in yourself, when you really push yourself to be a great leader, is outside of your comfort zone. That's where the magic happens. And everybody's comfort zone is different. Everybody's magic is different. So you got to find yours. Now, when that magic happens, your confidence level will go way up. It'll be amazing. But you got to get yourself out of that comfort zone.
So that's great, Sandra. Let's dive into that getting out of the comfort zone piece in one specific area. I think something we hear a lot in firms is something along the lines of, hey, in order for me to be a leader, I need to figure out how I can be John, how I can be Sandra, how I can be fill in the name, fill in the blank with a name within your firm. And I think one thing we focus on is actually you don't need to become someone else in your leadership journey to be confident. You need to better understand yourself. And that can sometimes be uncomfortable, right? Is kind of getting that type of feedback or taking various assessments, things of that sort. So as you think about that specifically, Sandra, what are ways our listeners can maybe get a little uncomfortable learning more about who they are so they can be true to themselves as they grow into leaders?
I love that. I know that we've talked about this on other podcasts before. So if our listeners right now are thinking about things that we've said in the past, I'm going to say it again. And if you hear it 2 or 3 times, all of a sudden it'll stick. So maybe this will be your second or third time. Figure out your unique abilities. What are the things that make you special? What are the things that you do that are easy? Think of the things that you do that maybe some of the other people don't. Sometimes it's speaking in public. Sometimes it's the way you write. Sometimes it's the way you research. Sometimes it's the way that you tell a story. So there's all different kinds of things that make up your unique ability. Find out what yours is and double down on that. Whatever it is that is really something you do super well, the way you think through a problem, it could be a million different things. Find out what your unique abilities are and then double down on that. Because I agree with you, John. People oftentimes will say to you or I want to know how to be you, right? I want to know how to do what you do. Well, I can't teach you to be me. What I can do is tell you that this is the outcome that you need. And here's the things that I think are special about you. Now that's how you use those skills and those abilities to get you to where you need to go. Don't worry about being me. Worry about being more of you. It's easier that way. So your life will be easier. Your outcome will be easier. Your confidence will grow faster. But be you. There's a saying out there right now that just do you. Well, just do you. That's what you need to do to double down on really getting out of your comfort zone and making it easier for you, not harder.
Excellent. Thank you, Sandra. That is really good insights. So let's say our listeners do put some effort into learning more about themselves, taking your advice to really commit to growing as a leader, to being more confident, being willing to be uncomfortable. Sometimes we call that courage, right? Stop trying to avoid being uncomfortable and kind of view it as courage that's needed to develop those capabilities. in you. So as a result, you can be confident. So if that, if our listeners were to kind of go through that journey, so to speak, and they're on the other side of that, not that leadership is a destination or confidence is a destination necessarily, but on kind of, on the other side of at least part of their transformation, what are some of the results you think they'll start seeing in their lives?
You know, I know that you will feel higher satisfaction about your professional and probably your personal life too. So I think you'll feel more satisfied and feel prouder of yourself. I also think that you're going to feel more engagement with the firm, with your team, with your clients. So I think engagement is another huge piece of what you'll feel. I think you're going to feel a higher clarity of how you can then connect with the objectives of the company that you're working for, the firm that you are working for. So when you figure yourself out, you can then connect the dots to, this is who I am, this is what I do well, this is what my firm needs, and this is how I can help them. All of a sudden, you are a much more valuable person internally. You're a higher level leader. People will respect you more. None of that is a bad thing. All of that is good. All of that takes a lot of work. So I would say, put on I don't know, your boots and your helmet and go out there and find out how to really make yourself shine and get comfortable with that. That's the other thing, is I don't think we're comfortable kind of talking about all the good things about ourselves. Get comfortable with that. That might be the outside of your comfort zone you have to get used to.
Yeah. So I'm sure there are unique aspects or components around this topic, Sandra, within the profession, but I know you're really plugged in outside of the accounting profession as well. As you think about building leadership confidence, is this a topic that's being discussed outside of our profession as well, or anything you would add from kind of that perspective?
Yeah, I think there's no question that there's lots of people out there talking about leadership right now. You can go out right and look at any magazine online or in paper, and Inc. magazine, Wall Street Journal, whatever you read. There's almost always an article about a leader that is out there and how they became a leader. And most of them, it wasn't an overnight success, and most of them, it was not an easy necessarily jog to get there. But our reality is it's everywhere, and we can learn a lot in this profession from other industries and other professions. They also can learn from us. So leadership is everywhere. All you have to do is go out and find it.
All right. So, Sandra, as we round out our conversation here, what are some next steps someone should take? Maybe you've hit on a couple items here for our listeners, and they're thinking, I need to get an emotion around this topic. Any advice there?
There's a couple of things. One is, if you do not have a board of directors yet, start thinking about who your board is. Who are the people you trust to really tell you the truth? So I think that's one thing I would tell them. Second thing I would tell them is find some training. Jon, you teach a great leadership academy here at Boomer, and I think that people can really find themselves in there, particularly when they have peers around them that are helping them and letting them see not only who they are, but who other leaders are. So I think that's important. Read. Get some books and start reading. I love John Maxwell. I love Patrick Lencioni, Jim Collins. I mean, there's just a million out there. I could go, Simon Sinek. I gotta say something about Simon. Read all the time. And when you're out taking a walk, put in an Audible and listen to the book. The more that you read and the more you open your mind to what leadership is, the better you will become. And I believe everybody who's listening right now can become a better leader, who could get more confidence if they just put some time into it.
So if someone wanted to reach out to you, Sandra, and have some more conversations around this topic, which I know you would love, by the way,
Yep.
what are some avenues in which they can reach you?
Well, I always say that the first easiest way is LinkedIn. So you can find me on LinkedIn. I also am on Twitter. Love to see Twitter feeds out there. And then you can always email me at sandra.wiley@boomer.com.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Sandra, as always, thank you for being on this episode of the podcast. It's a fun conversation, always with you. And for our listeners, if you enjoyed this topic, we release new episodes every Tuesday morning. Each week we focus on some different topics. This week was on leadership. Next week it may be technology or process, talent or growth. But the common theme among all those topics is that they are critical to your firm's success and to your success as an individual. So please go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. And thanks for listening. Thanks, Sandra.
Thank you, John.